Hi, I'm Lynn, and I want to talk to you about food combining. I want to talk about what that is, how to do it, and what the benefits of food combining actually are. I was in the bookstore just kind of perusing books, and I found this, Food Combining and Digestion by Steve Marowitz. And I found this to be a really easy read. It was very clear, great information, really great information. And it talks about the process of digestion. It explains it from like a biology perspective. It was really good. Food combining, I found, was mentioned also in the Beauty Detox by Kimberly Snyder, and I found it in a lot of other books as well. But these are not the only two books that food combining is mentioned in. It's actually in a lot of books, and if you just search for it on the internet, you'll find a lot of information about food combining, and some opinions that don't necessarily agree with each other. But one of the benefits of, well, let me say, what is food combining? Food combining is a method of eating. It's kind of like a way of eating, a manner of eating, a style of eating, where you only eat particular foods together within a particular time frame. And the benefits of doing this is that you have better digestion. There's a phrase in computer program, crap in, crap out. Well, in nutrition, there's a phrase of, it's not what you eat, but what you're able to assimilate. And practicing food combining can free up resources so that your body can better take in the vitamins, the minerals, and the other nutrients that you eat in your food. If you have, for example, Dunlap, and when you stand up and look down, you can't see your feet or your toes, food combining might be something that you want to consider. It can help, as I've said, with food digestion, but it can also help move food along so that it doesn't get stuck in your gut, putrefy, and contribute to that Dunlap. So one of the tenets, and I'm going to talk about mainly this book, but one of the main tenets, and even though I'm going to tell you what this is, I think you should read the book, at least read about food combining from some other source. But one of the main tenets is that you do not eat, or that you separate eating proteins and eating starches. So for people that live in Western society, like America, that's kind of hard, especially being that almost anything that you can drive through a window and pick up it combines everything in one meal, so you're just ready to go. But when you separate your proteins from your starches, that kind of leaves out hamburgers, hot dogs, pizza, kolaches, tacos, lasagna even. So if you're a meat eater, you might kind of like thinking, well, what does that leave me to eat? It's not that you can't eat meat or that you can't eat starch. Is that you separate them by at least, I'm just going to summarize right now and say by at least 2 hours. So I'll talk a little bit more about how to do that a little later. So why do this? Well, when we eat, the process of digestion is really complicated. And, well, actually, it's I'll just say it's, I don't know if it's complicated or there are a lot of steps involved. And depending on what you eat, each thing that you eat requires a slightly different step in the process or different requirements to help digest that particular food, and they don't all go along together. So like when you see something that's really good or you smell the food and you're like, the first thing that happens is your mouth starts to salivate. And you may already know that the spit helps the digestive process. It has some enzymes in it, and it softens the food, and it starts to break it down along with chewing. And then when you swallow it in your stomach, the stomach is turning that over. And in the stomach has hydrochloric acid, which will further break down that food. So it takes your, I'm just going to say ribeye as a protein example. You're chewing it down to smaller bits. And then this hydrochloric acid and the pepsin and the mucus that are in your stomach, which are really important for digestion, also begin to break that steak and whatever else you're eating down to an even smaller process. And then later on in the process, like in the pancreas secretes enzymes, and depending on what you're eating, you need different enzymes. So if you're eating protein, you need proteases. Did I say that wrong? Anyway, that doesn't sound right. And if you need starches, you need amylase. If, for example, an amylase enzyme for milk or lactose would be lactase. And for fat, you need lipase. I'm looking at my notes. Lipase actually helps break down fats. And so the body's calling on all of these things as you need it. The liver, of course, creates bile, and the bile helps in the digestive process. And then when your food gets down to your stomach, you have different things in your stomach like bacteria. Most of the time people think of bacteria as something you need to kill and get rid of, but you actually need bacteria in the digestive process. You can go to the store and buy bacteria in the bottles and pills, probiotics. We also need things like yeast in our body to help in the digestive process. So if you don't have yeast, for example, yeast can help unlock B vitamins that are necessary to keep our health up. In the small intestines, the food gets separated and further digested. It moves on to the large intestines, where it's said that vitamin K is produced, as well as additional water absorption and other minerals and vitamins are taken out in the large intestines. So again, depending on what you eat, the body is going to call on different things to handle that particular food. So think about Thanksgiving dinner. You go to your relatives or friend's house and people bring kind of a smorgasbord. Man, what smorgasbord of stuff to eat. And there are lots of things that are new. And so you eat a little bit of everything, right? You eat the appetizer beforehand. You eat the meats, and if you eat meat, or the other proteins. You eat starches, you eat vegetables. You might throw some bread in there. And then after you finish the meal, of course, your aunt brought her specialty item, dessert. And then someone bought something that they bought but looks really good that you've never had before. So you eat dessert and then maybe some ice cream, and maybe you had beer, wine, or alcohol while you were there, and then maybe someone heats up the pot and you either have wassail or you have coffee. And so you've got just about everything possible that you can possibly eat in your stomach. And so what happens? The stomach is happy, but the brain and the rest of the body and the digestive system says, you ate all this stuff and now you're supposed to expect me to do everything I need to do to digest all of that? Sit down. be still, and then you sit down on the couch and you're talking to your family and friends and you're watching the game and you're talking, and the next thing you know, you're asleep. Your body has put you to sleep so it can work on everything that you've just shoveled down your mouth. All the delicious food. So food combining, though, is kind of opposite that Thanksgiving meal. It's a way that by separating your foods, you give the body a better opportunity to digest, break it up. For example, the enzymes will take, for example, your proteins and break it up down to amino acids. And then those amino acids can even be broken down even smaller by enzymes to peptides. And maybe those peptides are broken down even further to polypeptides, and on and on and on, so that the body can take those amino acids, peptides, polypeptides, and make new tissue for you so that you're strong, so that you're healthy, so that your body works well. So, how to do it? Again, you do not have to stop eating anything to practice this. You just simply separate things. So, for example, in breakfast, what I often eat is leftover vegetables from the night before, or I might cook fresh vegetables, and a protein. It can be eggs, it can be chicken, it can be sausage, it can be whatever. And then at lunch, I'll either eat again another, say, a salad. A lot of people are used to salads and chicken. So think about salads and chicken. But don't add bread with it. Or maybe at lunch I'll eat starch and vegetables. So that can be sweet potato, it could be rice, it could be pasta, it could be brown rice, red rice, black rice. All of those grains that have high mineral content, I'm trying to put with vegetables. And you can also combine this process with an alkaline mentality, or that's another method. And so if you have protein, which they say this is about how much protein each person should eat, what you can hold in your hand, then multiply that times 3 and fill up the rest of your plate with vegetables. And then not only are you following food combining, but you're following a principle of an alkaline diet. Now, there's some other principles in food combining, like you eat fruit by itself and some other things. This book explains why. It's really good. It's really detailed about what it means and why. And I've tried this. One benefit is, how many of you get tired and sleepy after lunch? Especially if you have like a work meeting, or if you're trying to study or think and really use your brain. Well, when you stuff a bunch of stuff down your throat and your body's having to call on all of these resources in order to digest it, again, your brain shuts down. Your digestive process is like, no, you are not in control. I'm in control. You told me to digest some food, and that's what I'm going to do. So I need you to be quiet while I work. And then it's harder to think. It's harder to stay focused. It's harder to stay awake. So I've had a great experience by being on point and key in meetings, being able to think quickly, respond to questions and thoughts. And it's really great. When you eat this way, it takes a shorter amount of time to digest food. So your food can be done in about an hour, depending on what you eat. That Thanksgiving meal could take 3 or more hours to eat. So you may be more hungry more often and may need to eat every 2 to 3 hours. It really depends on you and how much food you eat. And once you start actually doing this, it becomes routine and it's more normal. I'll have to admit, when I first started doing this, I was freaking out, like, oh my goodness, what am I going to eat? But for breakfast, I eat, for example, huevos rancheros. So it's eggs and can be cheese, although that's in the food combining book too, cheese. So I won't go into that. Gotta read about it. But beans, eggs, spinach, kale, collards, chard, that kind of thing. It's really delicious, keeps you on point. And I won't go into a whole fat thing, but I'll tend to eat more fat than I will starches. And if you're eating good fat, things like coconut oil, things like fish oil, I don't know about anybody else, but my brain is on fire, and I'm able to think well, think quickly, think clearly. It's worth trying. Now, if you're nervous about any of this, just talk to your doctor about making a change, because you're really not taking anything out of your diet. You're just separating them by time. So I would love to hear if any of you try it for the first time, or if you've been doing it a while. So if you can put in comments your thoughts and feelings about how it's worked for you, that'd be great. And thank you. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I look forward to seeing your comments. Have a good day.